favorite, most exciting topic that I love to teach, which is energy management. So let's take a quick break, ladies and gents.
Let me have your attention for a moment.
Because you're talking about what? You're talking about?
My bad on the profanity there. I forgot how bad. I forgot what that scene was like, but figure I'd play it since Mike referenced it. And we're going to dive back in here. So make your way on back. We're going to run our last section here, and I'm going to get you guys off onto your Saturdays. Favorite topic of mine to talk about is energy management. And you know, this is important to me if you know what the HEAT stands for. And we talk about high performance mindset, energetic leadership, ACE Weekly, and true professionalism. Energetic leadership, I always talk about, if there's one thing that you gain from your time period at Cutco, I hope it's this. And if you've heard me talk about for the past month or so since we've been in TLA, the skills of influence and how leadership is influence, sales is influence, let's talk about what influence really is. Influence, sales, is just being able to influence your environment. It's being able to affect the energy of the environment and the people around you. So influence, sales, leadership, it all really is just coming back down to energetic leadership. And everything is energy. Energy is everything. So, you know, the first thing that I would put down your notes is understand that human beings are energy addicts. We are energy addicts. Okay. And you can see that the reason people get addicted to social media or, you know, scrolling, is we get dopamine hits. We get energy from that. It's like an energy addict. The reason people get addicted to drugs or video games is a way to detach. It's a way to, there's an energy leaching that's going on there. Why we like hang out with certain people is the energy that they have. Why some of you all like coming to these events is because of the energy that it gives you. The reason that people go to the gym is because the energy that they have. You'll never meet someone that's like, I wish I had less energy. It's not really something that people ever want less of. It's something people only want more of. And energy, there's a scale, you know, so I'll tell you what, and this is just from a personal experience, when you are operating at a certain level and you haven't broken through to that next level, you're unaware that there's even another level that you could be experiencing because you've only experienced this so far. You know, so I remember when I was in college, I was going out and enjoying myself quite a bit on, you know, quite a few nights. And my energy standard that I had for myself at that time, I drank a ton in college, and I don't really drink at all very much now. And but that was just like the status quo. So I didn't realize I wouldn't have, if you would have asked me in college, I would have considered myself kind of more energy rich than most people. And I wouldn't have considered myself energy poor or that like I felt like I had a low energy state until I graduated from college and got some more better energetic habits. And then I didn't purposely choose to like stop drinking as much. I just noticed, hey, like I was aware of my energy more. And because I had done it so much less, I didn't realize how low I was and how like poor my standard for energy was until I got to a higher energy state. And then I realized when I would do something like go out and drink, how much lower it brought me. And I was so much aware of like how much essentially shittier I felt because of that, that I just started to become more aware of that. I mean, that's just an example from my own personal life, but you don't, it's a scale and it can go much lower than you think it can. And also can go much higher than you think you can. And so there's kind of 4 categories of energy that I put into your notes. Can I have someone be paparazzi for this, by the way? Post up into TLA. Who can take photos for me? Someone got it? Audrey, you got it? Perfect. Thank you. So 4 categories of energy, okay? Energy poor, energy neutral, energy rich, and energy super rich. So let's start off with energy poor. Okay, energy poor is somebody that, like, again, I kind of mentioned this earlier, you hang out with them and you just feel worse. right? This person is usually like low energy. Sometimes y'all are talking to reps and it's like you want to bang your head against the door because of how low energy the person is that you're talking to. It's like hard to even relate or have a conversation with them. Everything somehow ends up being negative. Everything ends up being downwards. And that person is energy poor. Then you have someone that's energy neutral, meaning they're not like giving off energy to other people around them, but they're also not taking away. People that are energy poor are like leeches. So who's like a science person out there, like my medical students and things like that? All right. So, from a scientific perspective, when we talk about energy, it's usually located in the electrons. So you have the nucleus and then you have the electrons, which are most of where the energy exists, and they move in an electron cloud. And when an electron gets removed off from an atom or a nucleus, it becomes an ion, which is an electron that is not necessarily, it's a free particle that's moving. That is where the energy comes from. That's how we calculate energy. So when you have an atom that is energy poor, aka it is missing certain electrons, like it doesn't have enough electrons to be complete, what it does is it pulls electrons from other atoms around it and adds it to its cloud. So it literally takes energy from other electrons, it takes energy from other atoms and brings that energy into its cloud to try to get it back to a place of neutrality. If it's missing and it's poor, it brings it back to a neutral state by taking from elsewhere outside in the environment. If an atom has an overpowered amount of electrons, meaning it is super energy rich, it starts to give off electrons to other people in its environment. It starts to radiate electrons or ions, and we call those valence electrons, electrons that move into outer orbits or get passed off to other atoms. So our bodies as human beings work the same way. Everything at the macro happens at the micro. Everything that happens in the planets on the grand scale of things is happening in our anatomy, is happening in our cells, the microcosmic level as well. So when someone's energy poor, it's literally like they're an energy leech. You just hang around them, and that's because they're taking energy from the people around them. People that are energy neutral aren't necessarily giving or taking away. And then there's people that are energy rich. And these are people that, and by the way, it's really hard to be a salesperson and be a leader if you're not at least at this place. So if you are at a lower energetic level than the person that you are trying to influence, it's probably not going to work out. If you are at a low energy level than your representatives, then the person that you're trying to recruit, it's like the mentality when we try to recruit someone, we say, hey, you can't recruit someone that's sharper than you. If they're coming from a lower energetic state than that person is, you're not going to be able to influence them. To be able to influence them, you have to be operating in a higher energetic state. So someone that is energy rich is somebody that, and we all know some people like this, some of you all are this for other people, and it's somebody that, typically you probably feel better being around. That they have, their energy is lively. In our society today, we say they've got good vibes only here, okay? That person's got good vibes, good energy, and it's something that, by the way, it's like everyone can feel it. And even though this is invisible and you can't see the energy exchanges happening, it's happening all the time. And it's happening on a physical level, a mental level, and a bunch of different planes. There's energetic transfers that are happening all the time. And that's why, again, it's really important when you're even going back to our last conversation of handling an objection. The most important thing is the energy that you're approaching the sale. The first things were never do this, never again be emotionally attached to the outcome. Because it's not the words that you say, it's the music behind the words. It's the energy behind the words. And you can say the right words, but if a customer feels the energetic exchange and it feels off, they're not going to know exactly why. They're just going to know something feels off here. As people have very good bullshit detector meters now. And if there's something energetically that feels mucky about whatever it is, if there's some other intentions behind what you're asking, or you don't mean what you're saying, or you don't actually believe what you're saying, and you're coming from a lower energetic place, people can feel that energetically, subconsciously, and they feel it in their gut, and they make decisions based off of that a lot more than whatever logic you present them. Then there are certain individuals, by the way, and people that are super rich, energy super rich. And this is somebody, and maybe you've met someone like this before, but their presence is potent. Their presence is powerful. You're at a party and that person walks into the room and it's like everyone's already looking at that person when they walk in. They don't even really need to like start being loud or being obnoxious or saying anything. Everyone just can feel that person's energy and that person's presence. And that's the presence of really any great leader or individual. So I love taking apart words. And one of the words, I mean, this is just a good example of this too. So when you ask a question, right, which literally breaks down to quest and ion. A quest is a search for something, and an ion is an atom or molecule with a net electric charge due to loss or gain of one or more electrons. So, like, what does a question really mean? It's like a search for ions. It's a search for energy. It is a search for energy. When we talk about the word passion, passion, when someone's passionate about something, right? What does it mean? It's to pass ions, to pass off energy. The person is radiating their energy and excitement and enthusiasm for something. That is what passion is. So, I hope you guys are understanding like just the idea of like, number one, why energy is so important. Emotions and emotion management. Okay. Emotion is just energy in motion. So emotions are energy moving through the body. And a little tip, by the way, on that same notion of emotional management, a lot of people, and I talked about this earlier about like, hey, being part of the pendulum swing at the bottom of it as you go from left to right, or being at the top of the pendulum swing and not having to affect it. Emotional management, by the way, is not blocking your feelings and just not feeling anything and just pushing through stuff, which is what I did for a long time. And that was like my emotional management. It's like, oh, I can manage my emotions, aka like just don't feel any of them and act like they're not there and they won't be, and just ignore them all. And that's not really emotional management. That's like emotional, like that's ignoring your emotional state. Emotional management is allowing emotions to freely move through you and you have control and autonomy over that process. Is like actually allowing yourself to experience things. And a lot of times any emotions or energy, if emotions are just energy in motion, right? There's a saying that like emotions that don't come out through tears find other places in the body to harbor onto. And a lot of times emotions are just things that are trying to pass through you. If you allow yourself to get really, really angry, a lot of times just you let the emotion happen or get really sad or get really happy or whatever is coming up. A few minutes later, if you allow yourself to actually fully feel the emotion goes away. What a lot of us do, though, is we trap those emotions inside of us. We say this energy is trying to move through us. And we say, don't move. I don't want to feel that. Don't want to experience it. Just stay stuck in there. And that stuff ends up usually building up to where you can't control it. And eventually it starts biting at the doors and coming out anyways. So our bodies are composed, which is all energy is, of sound and light. Sound and light. Sound is light at a lower vibration and light is sound at a higher oscillation. And that's really all there is energy is just sound and light. It's photons and it's sound waves. So it's both waves and particles. And what we can see, by the way, is everything is a wave. And you have sounds, and eventually if sounds oscillate at a higher speed, they become heat and temperature, and eventually at a higher speed, it becomes light. And those sounds literally will eventually, if they keep vibrating faster and faster, will turn into light. With every single emotion, there is an energy related to it. And each of these emotions hold a certain level of frequency, and certain emotions that we would call sometimes negative emotions or bad emotions, okay, are just the opposite. And they're the same thing as a what we'd call a higher emotion. They're just operating at a lower frequency. So these are what we call, a lot of things like overwhelm, guilt, remorse, worthlessness, fear, powerlessness, shame, helplessness. Those are lower emotional energetic states. all the way up to the top where you can be having feelings of faith, gratitude, joy, awe, passion, abundance, exhilaration. Those are, similar emotions, just like love and anger, love and hate are the same emotion, just operating on a different frequency. They're the same thing, but on the different end of a spectrum. Just like the way you have hot and cold, right? Hot and cold are the same thing. At no point on the temperature, at what point on the temperature does it stop being hot and start being cold? There is no, oh, at this point, at this degree, now it's cold and now this is hot. It's all relative. As you go in one direction, it becomes hotter. As you go in one direction, it's colder. All hot and cold is a measure of a degree of temperature. So the same thing as hate is a lack of love. It is the opposite. It's the lacking of, it's in the other end of the spectrum. And that exists on most emotional frequencies and bandwidths. So I'm saying this all first off as a ground level, because I want you all to understand at an energetic level and as people that, and people and spiritual beings and students and business people, like this affects all of that. This affects everything that we do in life. It affects our own happiness and our emotional state. It affects our physical energy. It affects our sales interactions and the way we're able to influence and lead people. All comes down to the way you're able to hold and manage your own energetic state. So when you talk about leading yourself first, you first got to be able to lead your own energy before you're going to lead and influence the energy of those around you. So we can get into a little more practicality here before we wrap up. And I want to give you guys just some energy habits. So, one of the things, like, I would encourage you as we're going through this, what is one or two of these that really stands out to you that over the next 90 days, you could start to work on? A lot of times I think people see this list and it's like, their options are like morning routine, as in I do a 2-hour morning routine with journaling, visioning, breathing, exercising, and like 10,000 things. Or it's like not having a morning routine. It's like, those are the two options. It's like, I go to the gym 7 days a week, 75 hard, or I'm just not working out at all. Maybe there's a little bit steps, right? There's levels to this. You don't have to be down here or up here. Can you have certain habits that you're starting to build up and work towards slowly that are going to support you in that way? And some of these are going to speak to you a little bit louder. And all of them, if you're doing them at a very high level, will help significantly. All of them have a neutral state and all of them have a very low level that if you're missing these, it will sabotage your energy if it's very, very poor. So one of the first things is water and hydration. I've already drinking a gallon of water today and it's like 2:00. So one of those big things is just like, hey, are you drinking enough water? And I put different things inside of my water. I can send the links into it. But even today, one of the things I do to make the water a little bit better is I put trace minerals in it, which if you just Google trace minerals on Amazon, I can send you guys a website. And I also put electrolytes into all the water to make the quality of the water does matter. But the quantity of the water matters even more. The earth is made out of 70% water. Our bodies are 70% water. So considering that the majority of your anatomy is made up of this stuff, it might be a good idea to like fuel it. It is the biggest thing that you can do to stay hydrated. It is the biggest energy. Most of the times when someone has a headache, almost every single time, what's the cause? Dehydration, not being hydrated enough. When someone goes out and drinks, like the reason they have a hangover isn't just from the alcohol, it's because there's a lack of water. They didn't drink enough water because they were drinking other stuff instead of water and hydrating. So just having a water routine, getting a water bottle, and two things when you go to sleep and wake up. So chug water before you go to sleep. It will help you wake up in the morning because you'll probably have to use the restroom if you drank a lot of water the night before. Second thing is, keep this in mind. When you wake up, one of the first things you should do is drink a lot of water, or else I guarantee you will feel groggy within an hour or 2 hours of starting your day because your body just went through a water fast. You just had 5 to 9 hours worth of not drinking any water. And if you didn't drink a lot before bed and a lot before you wake up, now you're talking about 12 hours in your schedule where your body hasn't had any water. So it's something very, very simple, but water can be a big thing to add and fuel your energy. Another thing would be air, breath. Breath work sometimes is like woo woo and weird for people, which I don't know why, because that's the only thing that keeps you alive. You become a living being as soon as you inhale breath, and you stop being a living being the second you stop breathing. It's like what is making us all live, and just getting better practices on that. Hey, like, how are you breathing? Are you breathing? Like, just take a quick second right now. Take a quick second right now to like think about, how am I breathing? Are you breathing in through your nose? Are you breathing in through your mouth? Are you breathing fast? Are you breathing like shallow, like just a little bit into the chest? Are you breathing all the way down into the gut? Ready? I want to take a deep, deep breath real quickly and pay attention to like where in your body, like oxygen doesn't fill up or doesn't get to. See if you can take a full breath real quickly. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Paying attention, by the way, where oxygen or where air doesn't go into your body can be a telltale sign of like where there might be things or problems or things you can look into a little bit more. And that's different for every people. Some people have a lot of trouble in their gut. Some people, like their heart and their chest, like doesn't really expand that much when they breathe. And our body gives us signs. So doing things like Wim Hof, doing things like just breathing exercise. There's a lot of different exercises that you could do other than that one. That's just the one that we do quite often. Exercise and fitness. This is not like a secret to anyone, but having exercise and fitness, I'll tell you what, even on my own fitness journey, I've been working out for years and years and years. When I really started to get fit, people will ask me a lot of questions, but people thought I was working out. Like I was really hitting the gym like 3 or 4 times a week. So I was actually working out less, and I started to get in the most fit state that I'd ever been. But I was lifting and working out like hard less, but I was doing physical exercise almost every day. So what I started to do, it was really when I started doing yoga. And what happened is I was doing yoga on the days that I wasn't lifting. And every day I had 30 to 45 minutes of exercise, 6 to 7 days a week. It wasn't always very intense or anything crazy, but I was doing some kind of physical activity every single day. Easy way to keep your energy up. And again, maybe it's not for 45 minutes. Maybe you don't have to be a bodybuilder and go to the gym for 2 hours, but maybe it's like 10 minutes of exercise. Get down and do some push-ups, do some pull-ups. Can you like break a sweat? Can you like get your heart rate up a little bit at one point or another? Diet, nutrition. Again, I think this one's pretty obvious to society, but that affects your energy a lot. Be mindful of like, what you put into your body and the things you put inside of it. Like, if you go and order McDonald's or like Burger King or something like that too, like it's like literally taking a bomb and like dropping it off inside of your stomach and waiting for it to like blow up. So be conscious and mindful of like what you're putting into your body. And all this stuff is online. By the way, lots and lots and lots of people like bread, gluten, and dairy. Most people have allergies to. Not everyone's gotten tested for them, but most people a lot of times have a lot of allergies. Like I can't tell you how many people that I know that have had whatever ailment. I have acne, I have migraines, I can't sleep well, I have trouble focusing, I have really bad ADHD, I have joint problems, whatever. They've taken bread or dairy out of their diet and it's fixed those things for them. Seen it a million times. So not saying that needs to happen for everybody, but like maybe something to play around with. If you ever really want to get like fit, I would just watch your macronutrients and say, hey, am I getting enough just proteins, carbs, and proper vegetables and nutrition every single day? And then if you're also want to just talk about fitness, the biggest thing that is an energy killer and also a fitness killer is sugar. So most people think like fats, like a lot of people just associate like they try to like watch eating fats, which by the way, this is the FDA that gave us the food pyramid that told us to eat 70% grains as part of our meal. Anyways, so fats are one of the best things that you can have for you. Typically, fats are the oils that help produce brain activity, and fats doesn't turn into fat. Fat is usually it's the best source of energy that you burn. Sugar, all sugar that is not used immediately converts into fat in the body. Okay. And most people are consuming way more than they need in sugar. And unless you're like a very, very high powered athlete, you don't even need that much sugar to begin with. And I would just do this. Be conscious of how much sugar is in things. Just start looking at the nutrition facts and look at the sugar. That's all you need to do. And just be a little bit more aware. Because most people, if they realize how much sugar they were consuming, they wouldn't consume it. People just don't realize how much sugar is actually in things. Like, for instance, if I went to Starbucks right now, if anyone was at Starbucks, you ordered a coffee and you went to the little thing to add some sugars to it, and the lady walked over next to you and took out 2 trays of those little sugar packets, and you just watched her empty about 40 of these things, 40 sugar packets into her coffee. How many people would be a little grossed out? Be like, oh my God, that lady just emptied like 40 bags of this stuff. Each one of those packets is typically about 1 gram or 1.5 grams of sugar. So in a soda, there's usually 50 to 60 grams of sugar. So there's 50 to 60 packets of those. So before it's condensed down like a soda, the size, if you filled it up with just how much sugar is in it, it's about like 2.5 cans worth of sugar filled, and then it gets consolidated down. But like most people, the average person, people that consume a lot of sugar, consuming like 400 to 500 grams of sugar a day. Like the average person that consumes low amounts of sugar is consuming 150 grams of sugar a day. If you woke up in the morning and I put out like 3 plates of on the countertop for you and just poured out all of the sugar, 150 grams of sugar, and said, all right, before the end of the day, you got to down all of that, you'd be like sick to your stomach. Like, what the hell? But that's how much the average person is consuming sugar, like 3 platefuls of sugar. So I would encourage you to just be aware of things that like, hey, if it has like more than 20 grams of sugar, it's an obnoxiously high amount. By the way, fruit is just sugar. Most fruit, like it does good have its nutrients, but those of you guys that like drinking juices and things like that, it's not necessarily bad for you. But if you already consumed a lot of other high sugar things throughout the day and now you're eating fruit, it's just adding to your sugar count, for the total day. So that's one thing that I think you can watch to protect your energy a little bit more. Having a morning routine, I recommend reading Hal Elrod's book. He spoke to us at SE2 this year, or SE, or I don't know which one it was, but one of the events. Miracle Morning. He just talks about the idea of savers, 20-minute morning routine that can completely change the day. So part of it could be just having some sort of routine that you get into that helps you set the tone for the day. Another big part is evening routine. So it's your wind down, right? So it's not just like what you do once you wake up, it's how you go to sleep. Having things like blue light glasses. A lot of you guys are on screens all day long. Okay. It makes it harder for you to fall asleep when you're doing that. Having an evening routine where then like ideally you can dim the lights down a little bit, not look as many screens, with like an hour or 2 to bed, drinking some water before you go to bed. And one of the biggest things you can do that the Miracle Morning talks about is have bedtime affirmations, which is like setting intention before the day begins. And he talks about this trick of literally where you trick your brain into believing I'm going to have great sleep. I'm going to wake up with energy. I'm going to wake up with enthusiasm. And the strange thing enough is when you do that, you typically do. A lot of times we go to bed like, oh shit, I'm going to have to wake up in 5 hours. Oh my God, I have to do this today. Oh, this is going to suck, blah, blah, blah. And then we wake up the next morning, we're like, oh, fuck. And then we like wonder like why. It's like, well, that's because literally that's like the intention you set before you went to sleep was like, that's how tomorrow was going to go. And then you woke up and it felt just like that, so like programming your mind to be like, hey, before I go to rest, like I'm going to wake up, tomorrow's going to be a good day. I'm going to have this, like almost kind of visualizing that day before it happens and setting some intentions. All right, last few things. Meditation. I recommend using the Headspace app. I know Jess is a big fan of that app there. Headspace is a great app that you can download. I highly, highly recommend. There was a year that I spent meditating every single day for the entire year. I think I missed like 2 days out of the year, but one of the biggest transformations that I had in my own personal life was when I started meditating. Completely changed my life. I don't talk about it now because it's just kind of part of my life. But like when I went from not to actually practicing meditation, it really, really helped. If anyone feels like they have trouble meditating, a tip that I can give you is meditating like there's no trouble meditating. You don't have to try to meditate. You just do it. All you're doing is just being. That's it. You just be yourself. be with yourself. And like the problem that people have when they start meditating is they often try to like judge themselves. Oh, am I doing this right? You know, there is no right way to do it. All it is just letting your immune system and like your response like calm down and letting your thoughts just go, and you actually being the observer of the thoughts. So it's okay. You're not trying to like stop thinking. When you do that, you're just inherently thinking about stopping thinking. What you're trying to do is feel your body more. So be more in your body, and it doesn't matter if you're going to have thoughts, but just let them roll and don't come attached to them and start going down the thought train of like, oh my gosh, I have to do this and this. Just go, oh, nice. I'm thinking about that. And this keeps coming up, and just be almost observant of it. Last few tips that I'll give you guys for energy management. Number one, being connected to vision. There's a reason NLG, I walked you guys through that exercise of, hey, where would you see yourself 5 years from now? And that's because in order to show up powerfully in the present, you need a compelling vision of the future. In order to show up powerfully in the present, you need a compelling vision of the future. And it's not about the attainment of that vision. It's not about whether you're here or not 5 years from now. It's not about whether you hit the goal. It's about who that vision reminds you to be today. It's about the reminders that vision creates for you on how to show up and how to navigate your daily choices when you have a vision that you're working towards. Last two that I'll give you is manifestation. So I don't know if any of you guys talk about like manifesting ever, but it's a common topic in our society and culture. Here's one thing, manifestation. A lot of people think about manifesting as like thinking about something over and over again. It's not about thinking about it. It's about feeling and believing that that experience has already happened, right? So it's not enough to just think about something a lot and you're going to attract it into your life. The reality is that time is relative, and time is, if you go into science and look at Einstein's theory of relativity, time doesn't exist. It's all happening at the exact same moment. We're just experiencing a moment of time. So everything that's going to happen in the future already did. Manifesting is not enough to just like think about something. You have to experience like the emotional experience as if that is already true, because the higher self knows, oh, this has already happened. In fact, like I'm already headed down that journey. It's already happened. Now I just have to show up, right? It's having the emotional connection is what makes manifestation really, really powerful. And I certainly believe a lot of the things that I've accomplished in my life, I have 100% manifested them. And when I say manifest, like I already knew it was going to happen. When we broke the record, dude, I was telling people 6 months before we were going to break the record. You wouldn't believe me, but I already knew it was going to happen. I had no doubt in my mind whatsoever that we were going to do it. Last tip is planning and execution. Is one thing to manage your energy is like manage your energy, manage your schedule, manage the way that you operate, protect your time, have boundaries around your energy and for yourself. And take 60 seconds real quickly. Pick one or two of these things that like stood out to you that you can start to work on over the next 90 days and become aware of it, and post it into the chat real quick. And I'll wrap up in 60 seconds of their assignments and we'll hop off with two. Take a few seconds. What's one or two things that you want to like actively work on? And we can hold some space in there for you guys in the chat here. Nick said morning routine and planning. Jess said water and morning routine. Alexa said daily meditations. Miles said water and diet. Jess said I drink negative amounts of water. Meditating and water. Always H2O. Getting a morning routine back. Exercise more. Parker. Water, meditation, miracle morning. All right, ladies and gents. Well, it's been a phenomenal day. Let me wrap up with the assignments here real quickly. As we know, so again, anyone that's looking to really start separating themselves, becoming a leader, looking for some letters of intent right now, if you need help with support with following that process, let me know. We got to continue to add to startup. The Gensch lines are there. And the only two big assignments is just number one, our new book is going to be How to Win Friends and Influence People. So it's about a 2-hour read or 3-hour audio. And I'll send the PDF and the link into the chat. And then the Fall Classic Push PCs. That is a month away. Okay, but I'm letting you all know about it now because we need to have a much different culture. And this is one like, hey, look, every single person needs a pick post in the chat and needs some sort of goal for this, regardless of what level you are or where you're at. This is the push that everybody steps up for. So those are the three assignments, ladies and gents. Outside of that, thank you all for being here today, being engaged and creating a great meeting together that we had today. Ladies and gents, have a great Saturday. I will talk to y'all soon.